People are really struggling right now. Food costs are high, feed costs are just skyrocketing, and everything is just getting more expensive. Some of you probably already know, I didn't grow up with a lot of money. My family didn't have a lot of money. My parents were immigrants from what is considered a third world country. And when you grow up in that kind of poverty and aware of like the cycle of poverty, that feeling, honestly, no matter what happens in your life, that feeling, it never leaves you. And that's why this means a lot to me, and I really care. And I know some of you can relate with what I'm talking about. So let's talk about some ways that we can help each other through this. Hey guys, welcome to Chickenlandia. I am a backyard chicken educator here in the Pacific Northwest, but you can call me the president of Chickenlandia. So let me start out with my disclaimer. Obviously I don't have all the answers. I really don't. I am just trying to work through this, just like many of you out there, to figure out what I can do to help people through the situation. But I hope that you'll bear with me through the end of the video, and if you have some ideas on how to help other people, how to help your community, then I'd love to hear about that, and you can post it in the comments, because I think focusing on community and focusing on getting back together after the chaos of the last 2 years, I really believe that that is going to be the key to getting through this. My main focus and what I really want the Chickenlandia brand to be about is making chicken keeping more inclusive, making it more accessible to everybody, especially right now when food costs are going up, people have less access to healthy food. I think it's really important to make sure that everybody feels like they can do something like this. One thing that has been a big problem for a long time, and now it's a really big problem considering the situation that we're in, is that a lot of people don't have the ability to even keep chickens. It's actually illegal where they live. It's actually kind of interesting, the people that are affected by these chicken laws, or these laws against keeping chickens. It affects people that live in what is considered nice areas, where there is this thought that if people are allowed to have chickens, then it's gonna bring the property value down. So they have these laws, or they have these HOAs where they make these rules where you can't have chickens because they're just, I don't know, it's like they see having chickens as something that is low class and something that is undesirable. Then there are people that are affected by these laws that live in areas that are very densely populated, and a lot of times these areas, there are people that don't have a lot of money, and sometimes these areas are food deserts where people don't even have access to fresh food. They don't even have a grocery store that they can go to in their community. And can you imagine living in a community where you will actually get fined for trying to grow your own food or trying to raise chickens when you don't even have access to fresh food? I just want to know, in what universe does that make sense? So this sentiment that chicken keeping is this low class thing, that it's going to lower property values, or that, if chickens are allowed in densely populated areas where people don't have a lot of money, that's going to be a dangerous situation or an unsanitary situation. These sentiments have some pretty nasty roots. Honestly, if you look into the history of chicken keeping in our country, you will find that it's a lot of classism and other things that aren't great. And we do not benefit from these rules. But you know who does benefit? The poultry industry, of course. So I know when we think about these laws, it can make us feel kind of powerless, like there's nothing we can do about it. But one thing that you can do is, if you are able to have chickens in your area, I would really encourage you to do that, because just by you having chickens and bringing awareness to that and showing people that, chickens are not dirty, they don't have to be dirty, they don't have to bring rats into the neighborhood, they're not unsanitary. Actually, having chickens in a community is very beneficial. If you're able to do that, then I really encourage you to do that. And I encourage you to tell the people that you know, your friends, to post about it on social media so that people know how beneficial this activity is. Now, if you do live in an area where it's illegal to keep chickens, I think the very first thing that you should probably do is see if you can get like an actual human contact in your city council that you can kind of talk to and pick their brain and find out what the best steps for you to take is. I think that's the best place to start. Another thing that really all of us can do is work on shifting the perspective that chicken keeping costs a lot of money. Traditionally, keeping chickens was a way that people survived through hard times. It was not something that they would have to spend money on that would put them in a worse situation. And I think that there are ways you can keep chickens that isn't that expensive. It may take a little bit of extra work, to use repurposed materials, to figure out a way to have it not cost you so much money. But I think that there is definitely a way to do that. And in fact, it's been done that way since people domesticated chickens. But I have to acknowledge that right now, a big problem that a lot of people are having is feed costs are just skyrocketing. They are super duper high. And that is a reality that we're facing. There's no getting around that. And this might be a little bit controversial to some of you, but I really feel strongly about this. I don't want the price of feed to stop you from getting chickens. I don't want that to be the reason that you don't get chickens. Traditionally, chickens have eaten what we waste. And if all you can afford to do is to give your chickens scraps from your kitchen, as long as they're getting enough food, I think that's okay. I think that in your circumstance, that will be okay. Now, I'm going to sound like I'm contradicting myself a little bit, but if you have taken my course or, I have a book that's coming out soon and I talk about this a little bit, I do say that, the healthiest, most nutritious way for a chicken to eat is to have the majority of their diet be a balanced chicken feed that is appropriate for their stage of life. And there's really kind of no getting around that. Like, chickens today are very different from the chickens that lived 100 years ago because we have bred them to lay a lot of eggs. And because they lay so many eggs, they really have very high nutritional needs. And so that's why I say it's best for their diet for the majority of their diet to be chicken feed. That is the optimal way to feed your chickens, to feed the domestic chickens that we have right now, considering their nutritional needs. But if all you can do is feed your chickens scraps from your kitchen, then I would much rather see that than see chickens languishing in a factory farm. I tell people, don't just think about your flock. Think about your family, think about your community, and think about the whole world. And when you think about the health of your chickens, I want you to encompass all of that in it. And when you consider that, when you take that into consideration, then of course, a chicken that is living in your backyard, eating scraps, and having a great quality of life is, I think, a very appropriate option for you and for your family and for your community and for the world. So my last point, my last ask is kind of weird. It's kind of a weird ask, but I'm going to say it anyway, and hopefully it'll make sense to you. If you have chickens now and you belong to like a chicken community, maybe online or in person, I really would love to see a shift from like people really saying, there's only one way to keep chickens, to people being more accepting of all the different ways that there is to keep chickens. And I myself have been guilty of this. Okay, I've totally been guilty of this. I've shifted my perspective a lot in the last few years. But, I've been guilty of like saying that there's only one way to do this. Well, there's the Chickenlandia way, but it's not the only way. And I want to make that clear. I want people to start to understand that there is kind of a modern way that we learn how to keep chickens in the United States, but there's a whole world out there of people that are keeping chickens in traditional ways. And as long as they're being fed and they are, they've got good shelter and they're just being cared for, then I really don't have a problem with that. I think we kind of need to open our hearts and open our minds and kind of make adjustments so that we can make this shift into more people having chickens, because that's the goal. More people have chickens, less chickens in a factory farm, and all of us benefiting and getting through the situation that we're in. Now, there is one thing I forgot to mention, and actually I feel like this is really important. It's important to me, and I think it's important for the world. I do feel like we should raise chickens in a way that is in cooperation with our environment and our planet, rather than pumping them with a whole bunch of chemicals and synthetic things that can really affect our planet and our future. And right now we're really starting to see, okay, we need to take care of our land. We need to take care of our soil, because this is what we got. So if you're interested in learning some ways in which you can keep chickens naturally, all you have to do is click right here. It's 100% friendly. Backyard Chickens, Education and Entertainment. And I know you're gonna love it. And don't forget to leave me a comment. Let me know what your ideas are. I wanna hear them.